Alrighty, welcome to another episode of the Lockdown Podcast, continuing to pick apart as we do of Raw and SmackDown, and we're on the cusp of Saturday Night Main Event this weekend, so we have quite a bit to get to, but I feel like there's still never enough. So they've been on this whole across the pond tour. And so obviously the Raw and SmackDowns are way different times. so it's kind of tough to watch them live. Um, but so they've been over, obviously in the UK and pretty much just all over that area. And obviously being that we're on, the road to the Royal Rumble at this point in 2 weeks, which the stadium's still being built, so I don't know exactly how they plan on doing this. But, but I mean, maybe all the
Stadium
photos
looks
are.
stupid.
I mean, maybe the photos are just really just clickbait, and no one's actually ever really seen the actual finished product. Maybe, which isn't far fetched. So, but so we get Raw kicking off with obviously the new women's tag team champions being Rio, as they call them, with Rhea and Io Sky, and those kind of short lived, I guess. Basically getting interrupted by um, Liv Morgan and Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez, and then obviously followed up by Bailey and Lyra Valkyria, and the Kabuki Warriors, as if chaos wasn't enough. And so basically leading into obviously the most typical format of WWE is that the first segment, the opening segment, will always lead into another match later. It is like literally just crap on repeat, but you know what? It's a formula that honestly works, so not mad about it. So we've been on this interesting ride with a lot of NXT call-ups, and so we've gotten to see Javon Evans, most recently, Trick Williams as well, and so we get Javon Evans versus Bravo Americano, aka Tyler Bate, because we're not stupid. Like it's fun for the gimmick that it is, but eventually it has to run its course. But you know what? We'll take this grouping as it is, and but but Javon Evans does get the win against Bravo Americana with a OG cutter, also known as a Cody cutter, also known as an RKO, also known as a diamond cutter, also known as about 1,000. But I think the basically the diamond cutter, as it were. I think it's just a matter of the presentation, and so I think that I like that Javon Evans does it kind of pretty much like Cody does. But Javon Evans is way younger. They call him the young OG because he's literally like 21, already on the main roster, and so like that's an accomplishment in and of itself. Because he's moved through the ranks from NXT up to the main roster faster than most. Some are still in NXT. They've been in NXT for like 4 years, and it doesn't seem like they're breaking out yet. And I don't know if that's creative or if that's just the effort in which they're putting in. Um, I think it's more effort than it is creative. Just like anybody getting anywhere in life, when you see that you have good work ethic and you're putting in the work, you reap the benefits of such. So I'm gonna enjoy. I mean, we are enjoying seeing what Javon Evans can bring to the table. So we get CM Punk coming out and doing the same thing CM Punk does, and oh, it's a great day to be alive on a Monday, and wherever, fill in the blank. But but we So he's talking about basically, different contenders and who's the next person, and we get the emergence of Finn Balor, which honestly was kind of foreshadowed. If you ever pay attention to the background of any kind of interview in WWE in the back, there's usually a hint. And there was a red X on a piece of paper or something in the background of a CM Punk interview in back. And obviously we're not. So Finn Balor basically, so they're in Ireland next week, or I guess this week, and so he basically throws up a challenge to CM Punk, and CM Punk's like, "Well, I'll take you on a night." He's like, "No, look, basically he wants home field advantage being in Belfast tomorrow." And he gives a weird thing and he says, "I'm not going to be alone." And I don't think this is a nod towards any particular person. I feel like we're honestly going to get the Demon. Um, he hasn't used it in a really long time. He always wanted it to be more of an attraction, not just the repertoire of every time he wrestles.
I think it'll be good to do it in his home country.
Yeah, so I definitely think it should be exciting. So I love the fact that we're getting these matches just on a regular Raw or SmackDown. Obviously like the Across the Pond tour obviously is a little bit more prestigious than normal Raw or SmackDowns, but it's going to be definitely exciting to see another championship match. And I think this is more of a testament to CM Punk has proved he can hang still. And I've had my reservations about it because how they've booked him in certain matches before he was champion. It seemed like they were trying to hold off on him, trying to not him get too invasive and too much in it. But like after the last probably couple months in these matches he's putting on, like I tip my hat, he still has it. And I give all the respect to CM Punk in the fact that he is obviously in the later of his years of his career and still being able to put on good matches and brutal matches at that. So our next match we got was Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez versus Bayley and Lara Valkyria and the Kabuki Warriors in a number one contenders triple threat. And before I even talk about the match, god damn, Liv Morgan's hot. Like
Okay.
seriously, dude, like that skirt didn't cover up much and didn't leave too much of the imagination. And you could see every time that skirt went up a little bit, the cameras were flashing. Like I know Tim had a bootylicious Instagram reel algorithm going on the other day. But but yeah, no, but so after all that madness, obviously we get Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez winning, which I'm not mad about, but like I wish they wouldn't throw so much shade on Bayley and Lara Valkyria. I mean, whatever with the Kabuki Warriors losing, I think that's whatever. I think they had their time, they had their run. Now it's on, I thought they would move on to like Bayley and Lyra, something newer versus running it back with, Liv Morgan and Roxanne, but that's what we got. So we had this little segment, whatever, with Raquel Rodriguez on Raw, and it's weird them doing like by the stage entrance like interviews. But obviously this one had a purpose. So we had Raquel getting interviewed, and honestly I think was stupid is that Stephanie Vaquer comes out and it just ends up in a brawl. And I don't understand why, but apparently she's a glutton for punishment because, she gets the holy crap kicked out of her, and then Raquel gets pushed back to the back, and then Stephanie gets up again, and then Raquel beats the crap out of her again.
And destroys the women's championship belt.
Yeah. And so I think, from what I've read, is that, Stephanie Vicaire is getting sent back to the States, pending all the injury stuff. But, like, I don't care much for the injury stuff. I think if people can hold titles for excessive amounts of period of time without defending them, then I think giving Stephanie Vicaire, a little bit of a reprieve, I don't think it's out of the question. I don't think we're going to get a relinquished title. I don't think anything of that nature.
Nope.
Because that would just be hypocritical. So, but I digress. But, so, the next match we get we had Penta and Dragon Lee versus Bronson Reed and Austin Theory. And, honestly, the match was pretty straight up. And, I really still feel like Austin Theory is a man in disguise for Seth Rollins. I still don't feel the complete camaraderie with the Vision, because I don't buy Austin Theory joining up with them. I just don't.
No.
It's there's already one goon in that group, and that's Logan Paul. So, we don't need two goons. Otherwise, they can change their name from the Vision to the Goonies. So,
and have Paul Heyman be, hey, you guys.
Okay.
With a Butterfinger in his hands.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman. Anyway.
Hey, you guys.
But so before the night all began, Adam Pearce talked to Paul Heyman and basically said he wanted Braun Breaker to keep his distance, to not get involved in anything. He doesn't want any nonsense. And, well, we got the nonsense. And basically, probably in the later parts of the match, we get Braun Breaker coming out and absolutely spearing the soul out of Dragon Lee. And for some reason, Penta was in the ring, and he's like, come on! And then he gets a spear for his time. So we get the emergence of Adam Pearce, and, dude, he is intense.
Oh, yeah.
like Adam Pearce, he's literally no different than Braun Breaker. Bro's got, like, spit coming out of his mouth, and, like,
Yeah,
I mean,
like
he's
rolling.
He's
like fucking dogs.
Yeah, it's a freaking dog on dog. We need an Adam Pearce versus Braun Breaker match.
Yep.
But yeah, and so, basically we have the one segment, and then obviously it goes to commercial, and then comes back to Braun Breaker kind of walking away, and then Adam Pearce following him, and ends up suspending him indefinitely, which doesn't mean a hill of beans. Like, honestly.
Not with WWE, no.
No. And so
it's more like 2 weeks.
Yeah. So basically Braun Breaker, is suspended indefinitely, quote unquote, massive air quotes. But basically after that whole kerfuffle happened, Paul Heyman is basically like, well, technically you touched him first. You put your hands on him first. And so I feel like this is going to be an interesting situation, we'll call it. Hopefully tomorrow we get something, some kind of update on all the shenanigans. But, we have to play the wait and see game, but I don't see much of this really, being too big of an issue. It would be exciting to, from the rumor mill, of things about Adam Pearce getting let go and Chris Jericho possibly getting hired as the GM, which I think would be insane because it's freaking Chris Jericho. So, but I mean, I'm not going to hold.
Have him come out with a little clipboard. You made the list.
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, that'd be a great managerial thing right there.
You're not suspended. You're just made the list.
Oh man, yeah. So I mean, it's an interesting development. Obviously, we'll definitely see what comes of it this week. Now, so our main event of Monday was Gunther and AJ Styles, and Gunther has been an absolute bombshell of a just basically trolling people and trolling the whole
Yeah, you can't see me.
and so AJ was more or less like, I'm gonna make you tap, and technically in the match
He did tap,
he did tap,
but the referee didn't see it.
but the referee didn't see it.
He tapped AJ Styles' butt cheek.
Yeah.
Mhm.
he tapped that. But but yeah, so I mean, so obviously Gunther gets the win, but again, I don't feel like this feud is over with. I think this just opens the door to possibilities between these two. Um, much like any of the big feuds we've had, over the course of forever, like when Randy had that thing with Gunther as well, when he, Randy Orton's shoulders were up, but he got counted, and then that kind of started a whole little feud. So I definitely think we're gonna get. I think honestly, we're gonna get AJ Styles and Gunther at WrestleMania. I have a feeling.
Definitely.
I think this would be, a match that doesn't have to mean a ton other than just, AJ having respect for John Cena and trying to, not let essentially Gunther, who's not necessarily a newcomer, but, let him disrespect, past wrestlers.
Right.
So I mean, I guess we'll see what happens with that. So like, what did you guys think of Raw? Like, you know,
I actually thought it was pretty good. I liked the AJ Styles and Gunther's match.
Yeah.
And I did enjoy the CM Punk and Finn Balor's promos. I thought that's going to be good. I'm excited to see what it's going to be like tomorrow night on Raw. I know it's going to be the main event. And I'm excited to see what the heck's going to happen with the Vision, with the whole suspended of Braun Breaker. See how that's going to hand out.
yeah,
Most of the rest of the show was okay.
I'm interested in this Stephanie Vacour, Raquel Rodriguez match. I think there's something there, and I think people are overthinking it. In comparison, we've seen the same type of beatdowns and stuff like that. I do like that the championship belt was broken. I think that was a nice accident, a very happy accident, because it could symbolize a change. It's like a very dominant change. So yeah, let's see if we do get a dominant change. It could still make Stephanie look strong because she comes in with an injury's worked over and she can't overcome that, or she makes a mistake or something like that. The Finn Balor CM Punk match, there's got to be a title change. I'm sick of not seeing Finn Balor be a world champion when he has just been
I think it might happen because look at Drew. He won it overseas. Maybe
You know what?
Finn will do it the same.
Yeah, and maybe it's because both of them won't be going to to the Royal Rumble or anything like that, or maybe it puts CM Punk in the Royal Rumble so he can get another championship run, so it adds to the story, or
So
Finn
say
Balor, yeah.
I
So
could see
yeah.
that because CM Punk is never won a Royal Rumble. I don't think he has, and
Mm,
I think it'd be perfect for him because
yeah.
all I can say, it better not be fucking Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes
I
better not. I could see Cody Rhodes not winning the Royal Rumble, but I could see Cody Rhodes winning Elimination Chamber match to go on
right.
to WrestleMania.
I just think they
Yeah.
need to move past Cody Rhodes.
I think that they will. I think that
I don't.
I it's just gonna happen when we least expect it. That you know, I think they could start that moving past Cody Rhodes if he doesn't overcome Jacob Fatu. You know what I'm saying? Um, don't sleep on Jacob Fatu. Don't disregard him. You've got to book him strong. Um,
Yeah,
especially for this coming year, really like take um a lot of people from the bloodline and really start booking them strong. Um Gorillas of Destiny need to be booked strong. They need to get out of there. JC Mateo, I could see him, I can see him doing some like Braun Breaker style work, having some tag team runs and stuff like that. I really don't see much from Solo, but I digress. You've got to book, you got to start booking new champions and new people, and they're overlooking a lot of these independent powerhouses that are coming in, and that have been there for over a year. Really start giving us start giving us a lot more.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and I think definitely 2026 needs to be a change of pace. A change of mundane storylines. A change of how stories are getting told. You know when and where titles are defended. And I think they've noticed. I think honestly, I really feel like Triple H really has finally, got a sweet chin music to the back of his dome because, it's been a shitty year,
Oh yeah.
and I think that, we're not the only podcast talking about it. We're not the only fans talking about it, and I think, at some point in time, like he needs to acknowledge it. And like I said, if there's enough people saying one thing, it must be true. And so with that, I just think there needs to be a change up. I think we need to start getting more creative. Let's stop playing it safe. Let's take some chances and see what happens. I mean, because we're on the cusp of essentially again no more WWE draft, at least probably maybe this year. They might go back to it the following year, I don't know. But because we're seeing a lot of NXT come ups, and then we're also seeing Evolve go to NXT. And so I mean we're seeing a shift in the roster, and a rising tide raises all ships. So, as we continue to elevate new talent, I feel like they can give better stories. And again, you don't have to make these up and comers champions out the gate. That doesn't have to happen, but like you also have to give them opportunities to showcase, because I mean that it took Carmelo Hayes, about a year and a half or two on the roster before he won a singles gold, and he did some kind of goofy stories with like the Miz and all that nonsense. But then beyond that, obviously it led him to being a champion. Same thing with Ilya Dragunov, came up, obviously got injured, but came back and won a championship. And, I see that in the near future for like a Trick Williams, We're probably going to get an Obafemi at Royal Rumble. And so there's a lot of shakeup going on, and I think that's good. It's refreshing. It's because they're starting to release older talent, not because of not because of their work ethic or anything, but just because they're old. And I don't know if you heard, but R-Truth was released, and so that sucks because you kind of just seen R-Truth like he'll just do whatever, right? Like he's not a guy that you have to have plastered on TV all the time. I mean, you have lesser people still on the roster really not doing anything, and yet you have R-Truth, who's literally a WWE mainstay. He's a literal national treasure, and you release him again, like it's they did the same thing when they got rid of Braun Strowman. I mean, a smothering of others. So yeah. So SmackDown kicks off with obviously Drew McIntyre and his bagpipe buddies, and I honestly I like Drew as champion. Like I think that you need a champion that you love, and you need a champion that you hate. And you hate to love Drew McIntyre. Like, and him coming out with the whole entrance and everything else, and and just kind of the bravado that he has, it's good to see Drew back as champion. I honestly love it, and I'm glad that they've finally pulled the trigger on, giving him a championship. Now, I don't know how long it'll last, just because
maybe to WrestleMania, I could say.
I see him winning at WrestleMania. Because
he hasn't held the title in a live stadium at WrestleMania. I could see him winning it.
I see him winning at WrestleMania and putting the steps forward onto next, because I think they've waited too long, and they've teased us enough, with him being champion, that they're not going to be a flash in the pan. Now, the CM Punk thing versus Finn Balor, I could see that changing hands, just because, this is the proving time for Finn Balor.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a show up or shut up. And however it goes, you're going to see backlash from the Judgment Day. And I think this is just going to be the, one more straw on the camel's back, and we all want to see Finn Balor by himself, or at least with JD. I'm fine with him and JD, because they're actual lifelong friends. So it's a connection you can't manufacture. So,
no.
But so Drew McIntyre's obviously given his spiel, and then obviously you get the emergence of Randy Orton, and just the whole chatter and the whole history of them, and yada yada, as it were. And then we obviously get the emergence of Jacob Fatu, who's not done with Drew McIntyre, and so they end up
chasing each other for the audience.
Yeah, they chase them through the audience as a typical WWE thing, but which so after that whole thing happened, so we have Randy out there kind of shrugging a little bit, and then The Miz, who has a match with him next, kind of gets a one-up on him and gives him a skull-crushing finale before their match. And so that whole thing happened, and so leads us into Randy Orton versus The Miz to advance to Saturday night's main event to become number one in the Fatal 4-Way for the number one contendership to face Drew at Royal Rumble. And I don't think people realize that The Miz is like the losingest wrestler in WWE.
Yes, I think he has the highest losing record.
Yeah, I think he's got and the thing is, though, is it's never gonna be broken. because you're talking like I think he had like 1,500 losses or something.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, and so, but I mean, you know what? Miz is a trooper, though. I mean, he's definitely a give me whatever you give me, and I'll take what I get, and I'll do to the best of my ability. But obviously, Randy Orton does get the win. And yeah, so I mean, it was a good match. It just, it ended how we pretty much figured it would end, just because basically the people that chatter the most are usually end up in matches like this. So,
Mhm.
so our next match was Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss versus Julia and Kiana James, and this was a good match.
Okay, I got it now. His total loss for all the years is 2,200.
Sheesh.
That's rough.
Oh yeah.
And yet somehow he is a two-time Grand Slam
Okay,
champion.
hold on. Yeah, let me rephrase that. His total wins is 791, and that's like 36%. Total number of losses is 1,373 with 62.4%, and total of draws 36, and that's how it came up to a total of 2,200.
Okay.
His
Yeah.
losses is 1,373 out of wins of 791.
Jeez.
That's since 2003.
Some longevity though, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean 23 years in the business. I mean, you like it or lump it, man. Like,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. But so I feel like they never give women's matches enough time.
They don't.
And so we had
They
Charlotte Flair
should.
and Alexa Bliss versus Julia and Kiana James, and I just don't get it. Like I really feel like they have the talent to go longevity because we've seen it before, and they just never really seem to give matches enough time to develop it. It seems like you're getting about 10, 12 minutes tops sometimes, and I feel like I know they got more in the tank,
Mhm.
especially tag matches. I mean, but obviously Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss do get the win over Julia and Kiana James, and honestly, nothing to nothing to be down about. But so obviously we had like Nia Jax and Lash Legends obviously destroy everybody after the match.
They're a powerhouse.
Yeah. So we get I don't know if it was Jacob Fatu coming. I think it was Jacob Fatu coming out and calling out Cody Rhodes.
No, Cody Rhodes called out him first, and
Okay.
then later on, he called him out.
Yeah, and so we get Cody giving Cody speeches and basically declaring for the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
And I think Cody is a loved person, and I think but he's run its course. I'm glad he doesn't have the championship. I want to see him have matches that don't have any ramifications of titles. Just let him have some good 5-star matches, no title involvement. Let him go down the fantasy booking, and let him just have some good matches. It was the same thing I said about like Roman Reigns, right? It was like after he lost the title, like just go have some good matches.
That's what he was doing. He never went for the title. Since he lost it, he's been doing these non-title matches since WrestleMania.
Yeah. So
and they've been bangers.
Yeah, which is good. And he's lost more than he's won. So
Pretty
I
much.
think I think that is the nature of the business. When you get that epic run of your career in a promotion, you you've had your time and you've had your fill, and it's just like, you know what, I can just put over other people. I don't have to politic for anybody. The company knows my abilities. I know my abilities. I think it just works. It works. And good.
So we had another fatal four-way all match for the winner to go on to a Saturday Night Main Event between Trick Williams and Matt Cardona. And I really honestly, I'm not mad about the outcome because I would have been fine with either person. But obviously Trick Williams did get the win against Matt Cardona. Now, obviously, they interviewed Matt Cardona beforehand, and basically he was like, I didn't come back just to do the same old schmuck again. And obviously, he beyond proved himself in the indies. So like
Oh,
there's
definitely.
I don't doubt any credibility of Matt Cardona, aka Zack Ryder, whatever, aka Indie God, whatever you want to call him.
Mhm.
And so I was kind of somber about, Matt Cardona losing, but I'm also excited about Trick Williams because I think it's absolutely electric that Trick Williams, he got a pop. And I think that's really mind-boggling to me because a lot of people don't really watch NXT. And obviously you could clearly see the UK, they watch everything. And because like when Lyra came on, it was a pretty dull, pop. She didn't really get a pop. But here Trick Williams, he gets a pop. And I mean he was phenomenal in the match. I really I really honestly parallel him to like Booker T. I mean the same stature, the same style, and but obviously Trick obviously offers a little bit more than Booker T ever did. But yeah, I mean the trick shot honestly it doesn't look like much. I mean most finishers don't look like much, but yeah, so he does get the win, so he goes on, and so obviously like Tim said later in the night, obviously Jacob Fatu calls out Cody, they brawl, yada yada. And this basically is a match made for Saturday Night Main Event. We're going to have Cody versus Jacob Fatu. And I hope Jacob Fatu wins.
Me
Same.
too. Me too.
He gives Cody some L's, man. I'm sorry. Like, stop making it so noticeable that you're having him win. I want Jacob Fatu to win. I want him to beat the holy piss out of him.
As
I,
long
I,
as Drew doesn't interfere.
No.
I mean, I think even though this is obviously he's annoyed at Jacob Fatu, I don't think he's getting involved in this match at all. I think Drew McIntyre is only in for Drew McIntyre business, and I think he's gonna take he might sit ringside just for fun because he don't care. He's like I want both of them to beat the piss out of each other. I don't like either of them. So like it doesn't make sense for him to interject in a match that he hates both people. So yeah.
Yeah.
So we get the final match for the Fatal Four Way. So we have Damian Priest versus Solo Sikoa, and in typical fashion, we get a smothering of MFT, interruption. But Damian Priest said a very intricate, very smart thing. He's like, you know what? I did the bloodline stuff before too, and he took care of business. So he does end up getting the win over Solo Sikoa, and I don't know what this really means for Solo Sikoa and the MFTs. I feel like they're all bark and no bite, but I think they can talk, but when they lose, I mean, And I just think it's kind of ridiculous. We're going to get another title crap between MFTs and the Wyatt Six. I don't know exactly when that's going to happen. I don't think might just happen next week. I think maybe.
It's either this week or they're going to have it at Saturday Night Main Event.
Yeah, and I don't care. They've already ran this back, and then everybody got involved again. Like
They always do.
If they can't do this match properly, then don't even have it. Like, it's going to end the same way. How are you going to go for titles, and then you're going to outside interfere, which basically depletes the purpose of you trying to go for championships, and then you get disqualified. Like, if you're gonna claim your massive relevancy and everything else, then win it straight up. Like, or because they the whole brawl the last time they ran this back, it was just so obvious how it was gonna happen, and it happened quick. And so it's like, if you're so serious about holding gold, then take the match seriously. But now I don't know if you guys seen any of the translation videos. I believe it was the segment in the back with Shinsuke and I think it was Tamatonga, I think.
It was.
Oh yeah.
And basically the gist of what Shinsuke said to him in translation was basically, you'll find out who your family is, you're better than them, and and obviously they have history, and so like it's very interesting that Shinsuke is kind of interjecting a little bit of tomfoolery into the MFTs, and specifically one person, which it only takes one to start a little bit of mess.
Oh yeah, they got history from New Japan. It's some 5-star matches.
Yeah. So I mean, I love the little seeds they plant in storylines, and kind of see how they progress, because I mean, this could be the start of something crazy. We could get just a reemergence of just God and let them do their own thing, and no one's putting their trust in Solo Sikoa anymore because they're not doing anything. They're lacking faith in his guidance and his leadership, and maybe they move on to do something else. Now, I don't think this is something that's going to happen now. I feel like this is the old-fashioned long-term storybooking, but I feel like eventually it's going to happen. I think there's too many egos in one group. Much like Division, there's too many egos in the Huddle. I mean, and I just don't see it going, too far down the road with, the amount of egos in the group. So, but again, we can only wait and see. We can only see what happens. So now we get an open challenge again for the United States Championship. Carmelo Hayes, and we get Leon Slater, who the reason why it was an open challenge for he took it was because he's from England or United Kingdom or whatever. He's basically
United Kingdom.
Yeah. And honestly, like, good match, great match. It's definitely making Carmelo Hayes look better, and having him go the distances in these matches and winning them. And I think we're going to see a pretty similar run for Carmelo Hayes as we did Ilya. I think honestly, I hope that all the championships are defended at WrestleMania. Let's just be clear. Because it makes no sense to put matches that should have just been on a Friday Night SmackDown or a Monday Night Raw on the WrestleMania card, and do what they've done for a long time is when they'll put the just a basic match on a PLE, and then they'll have the tag teams defended on Friday Night SmackDown. But versus putting that on the main PLE, because they've done it. This is like, if you want to go back and look at how many times that they've had championship matches the day before a PLE, and then they have basic matches on the PLE. And I feel like when you put any kind of championship match on a PLE, it's more brutal. It goes into deep water as far as how long the match is, and you see a lot more on a PLE match versus a normal TV show match. But they've had this massive history of doing this, specifically to the men's tag team division on Friday Night SmackDown. They've done it probably at least 3 times. So I hope they figure their crap out and start putting championship matches on PLEs and leave these other matches to Raw SmackDown. So we get a Jordynne Grace versus Chelsea Green match, and I mean, a pretty cut and dry match. It wasn't too long. Obviously, Jordynne Grace gets the win. But we get, for whatever reason, Jade Cargill sitting ringside, and boring. And we get like Jade Cargill after the match come on the ring, and it's just all like holding their title like she's done jack shit with it, and we all doubt your relevancy until you actually defend it. And I don't know, dude. I think at this point it's been over 2 months. Like, if you're not gonna have her do something, like, it's just ridiculous. And like I said before, I really think they're just holding out for Bianca Belair to return. But it's like, you're really dragging this. This is a terrible. I wouldn't even call it a championship reign. Reign would require
it is. I think the frustration point is that we've seen this recipe so many times and it gets boring. I mean, we've said this about the Wyatt Six. If they're not going to defend, get rid of. We said it about the Judgment Day dozens of times, and there's something to be said about it. But it's also a WWE recipe. We know that by dragging it out, by making it seem like a champion doesn't want to defend it, it puts them over as a heel. It's more of a heel tactic to make the babyface seem stronger. And it's just a reminder to everybody watching and listening that we've seen this. It has nothing to do with the behind the scenes of like, yeah, I want to be one of those fighting champions that have an ego and stuff like that, because that wouldn't be great TV. But by having Jade not defend it, by having Jade, be braggadocious about, being a champion, and then, squashing like lesser knowns or independents or whatever have you, it just puts her over as, as a bigger heel. Because if she was a fighting champion, people would cheer that, and they don't want her as a face right now. They want her to be like the heel. So, but the criticism comes off as being like, this is all Jade's doing. This is all theirs. When everybody knows that creative is pushing her in a way to make her look more like a heel. And this is one of the recipes that they used. We saw it like for 4 years almost with Roman Reigns. He would show up. He was a part-timer. He didn't offend it. He would cut a couple of weeks of promos, and then he would disappear for a couple of weeks, come back, cut a couple of promos, have a match, then go away, So
I mean, at least he had matches.
And again, it's a heel. It is definitely a heel thing. Also, too, it may be because the fact she got her head busted open on national television, and we could see her the protective white layer between her skin and skull. and she was gushing blood. So they might be like, all right, we're gonna put the championship on you, but we still want to make sure that that scar is healing up proper, like before.
Yeah.
There could be any number of like real reasons why,
Yeah,
but
but it just kind of it makes, I mean, it makes the women's division look weak.
To me,
Because
it makes, what it does do is it makes Jade's run look weak, but to your comment, it doesn't help the women's division. We should see a fighting champion that, is just squashing people like Julia or Kiana James or Chelsea Green,
yeah,
like even if it's like the same like 4 or 5 people we've seen them squash before, do it. Let her let her have like quick 5-minute matches. If that's what you're giving the women's division, 5-minute matches, you can put her on the card and say like, hey, you're gonna go up against Natalia. We want you to do some tactics, and Natalia, would you please make her look good? You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I mean, just give her something to at least like keep some form of momentum to a certain extent. Like, I don't want to just see you come out and chirp, because I mean, Stephanie Vacquer's doing better work with a busted freaking ankle or whatever.
But we
And
can have the same. The reason why we have this disagreement on her positioning and whatever is that Stephanie is the face in that. And also we see, like, we can physically see that there's an injury, but Stephanie hasn't been like a fighting champion. They would give her a match, they would cool her off, they would build up for some other stuff. Kind in the similar vein, the only difference is that Jade isn't being given matches. That's the only difference. And it's not because Jade doesn't want to do the matches. It has everything to do with creative. So it changes the narrative. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But it's pretty much a similar recipe. Only difference is that we see something coming ahead that we can count on between Raquel and Stephanie. We don't see anything specific with Jade. She just, we also saw that with Chelsea too.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that it's just rough to watch, because like they've had 2 of the women only PLE's evolution, and they just preach this whole evolution of women's wrestling, and you got Nikki Bella saying this is the best the roster's ever been, and like I see a great roster, I just don't see great matches, and so we're stuck in this rut of, we have this talent, but yeah.
And that goes back to your statement of it makes the women's roster look weak when we have these champions that we know can perform, that we know can wrestle, and they're giving these same old tropes. You got one side that's doing a babyface trope, and you've got the SmackDown side that's doing this heel trope for their champions, and it doesn't bode well. There could be a different way of approaching this. I think that they're afraid to do it because they don't want the backlash of, you're not giving the guys enough time on TV. The company was built on men being in these positions, and every time you give women the opportunity to showcase their abilities, there's always a hyper criticism about it. And it's the same tropes that we've seen them use for the guys that we use for the women, but it stands out more when it's a criticism of women. And I think for me, I would want to have the same type of criticism, for men and women, that these recipes are old WWE. Let's change it up. I would want to see a heel champion be a fighting champion, and you can make them incredibly braggadocious or incredibly arrogant, or and just being like, I'm so good, I can, there are other promotions that seem to have figured this out a little bit better than the WWE, and the WWE has a 40 plus year history head start over these other promotions that seem to have gotten it over. They have fighting heel champions, and WWE doesn't do that, and I think that's disrespectful, especially for the women, because we know the women don't get the same shake.
Yeah,
That's why,
and it's and yeah, I think it's definitely a trial and error, but I think they have storylines written, and I think when you have injuries, it thwarts those plans to becoming second. You go to your secondary or your third string plans, and
Pretty much.
like I said, I really just think that we're waiting on Bianca Belair to return, and I see if Bianca Belair returns at Royal Rumble to win it, and I see that's the only way to interject her into the championship picture, and I don't know the time frame of Bianca Belair. I haven't really seen an exuberant amount of information on her injury or the severity, but I think that's the one thing that I really think is that's the plan. That's the main plan, is that we need Bianca back to have this feud. But again, I still say, like you said, give her some squash matches, and that's fine. I would rather see her in squash matches than no matches, because
True.
you can still portray that heel mentality where you just brutalize someone, or you bring in, or like what they've done for the existence of it. Back in the day they did it more than they did now, but they used to bring in some local talent person. Like, oh, this is Johnny Boo from freaking here in Memphis,
And here's
And
what I will say about you, Seth, when you make these commentaries, and I'm just thinking back at it, it's consistent. It's like, it doesn't matter if it's the women or the men, it doesn't matter who's holding the championship. If they're not defending that championship, why'd you give it to them? That
True.
consistency, most people would be very they would pick and choose who they were going to defend. But for you, in this podcast, it's very consistent. Don't put the championship on somebody if you don't have something for them to do either week after week or every 2 weeks or something or another. Don't let them be at home. Don't I want to see my champion all the time. That's
Agreed.
So that consistency speaks more so than what other people in the same space would say, and I gotta applaud that. So yeah.
Well,
And you're right.
I totally 100% agree.
I mean, and a lot of it just goes back to just like the old way of things, man. The old way of doing professional wrestling is that you defended it once every 30 days at least, or it was relinquished. And I just want to have believable champions, right? Because like with Roman Reigns, yes, he defended it every so often, but he built every one of those feud matches. And he literally put blood, sweat into those matches. Like literally, Roman put in 5-star matches. Like he faced off against against Jay. He faced off against Drew, Cody, freaking anybody but he made those matches believable, right? And in the tension that built to that match was believable. And it's just my issue with this women's division and and their main tier champions is that you're not giving believability to either champion, really. And that's what we built our fanism on, was the believability of these champions. Back in the day, you would see them defend it, on a Raw or SmackDown, and it was casual about it. It wasn't prestigious. Like the PLEs were more based on storyline than championships, and you didn't have to have the championship's only defended on PLEs. You know, you got cage matches, Hell in the Cell matches, TLC matches, ladder matches, all these matches just on regular Raw and SmackDown. It wasn't prestigious, and now
No.
it just seems like we're in the era of like you said. Like, I am very consistent about the fact that I just want to see champions be champions. I want to, you don't have anything for them. Why the fuck did you put it on them? Because
Totally agree.
you're not the secondary champion. You're the top champion. And that holds way more of a prestige than being an Intercontinental or United States or a tag team. It's the top tier champion that's my biggest thing, is that if you're going to be a top tier champion and you're going to be on the top of the mountain, I want to see you make everybody believe that you deserve that, and you beat the piss out of people in matches, and even if you're heel or face, doesn't matter. As long as you're making me believe every time you step in the ring that you're proving to whoever's across from you that I'm the best. So, but anyways, I digress.
Yep.
So the final match of the night obviously was Sami Zayn versus Ilya Dragunov, and I like Ilya Dragunov, and not a lot of people do, but he is brutal in the ring. Like I know his
definitely is.
I know his finisher is a little bit unpopular, with the H-bomb, or he does the Torpedo Moscow, whatever. But when you ask anybody in the WWE that's wrestled against him, he's a brute, dude. He might be probably 210, 215, 20 pounds, but he's short, so he's a pretty good wrestler. But obviously, they're not pushing him quite yet. And so Sammy does get the win. And after the match, we get good old Trick Williams and basically just, pummels Sami Zayn after it. And I like this for Trick Williams. I'm very high on NXT talent that I've watched for years, and to see where their progress has gotten them. And like I said before, is that it's crazy that he got a pop in the UK, right? His music hits, which is actually inspired by, I believe, I think it's a J. Cole song, but no, just the amount of love this guy's getting, even though he's technically kind of more of a, I think he's finding himself. I think he gives off heelish behavior, but we'll kind of see how his career goes, because it's just starting on the main roster.
Oh, definitely.
But he's already getting a top tier match. And so Saturday night's main event, we have a fatal 4-way for the number one contender to face Drew at Royal Rumble, and that is Randy Orton versus Sami Zayn versus Damian Priest versus Trick Williams. And
it's number 1v1 hell of a match.
I honestly, I don't even care who wins. I'm happy with anyone.
They're all good. And
now, obviously, Sami Zayn has made a career out of being the quote-unquote underdog. So I really think he's the ghost in this match, because Randy Orton's a beast of a person. Damian Priest.
I was going to say Sami's the only one that hasn't held a championship, but I forgot he had held the NXT championship.
Yeah, but they're not counting the NXT championships towards,
You got Orton and Damian that's held a main roster championship.
Yeah, and Trick's held the NXT twice and the TNA once.
Yep.
But yeah, honestly, this could go any way. I would love to see Sami Zayn win this. I'm not sold on him winning, because he can, but he doesn't get too many opportunities at the championship. And even if he wins it and loses to Drew, at least he got a shot, right?
Right.
But I don't know where this is gonna go. I think it's a stacked 4-way, and I think whoever comes out of it you know, yeah, I don't think any of them are going to beat Drew McIntyre though. But
Maybe
however it goes. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see Randy win his 15th, but
No, it would.
this be his 15th.
Yeah.
He's got because him and Triple H are tied for 14. But yeah, I mean, however it goes. But we also have Cody Rhodes versus Jacob Fatu, and this should be they should have just made this a street fight, like, and
Definitely.
maybe
Street
the
fight
match.
/ fall counts anywhere.
Yeah, maybe I mean, and maybe this feud goes deep. I don't know, but definitely going to be a good match. And then we have the women's tag team championships with Rhea and Io versus Roxanne and Liv, and we don't have a fourth match, which I feel like Saturday Night's Main Event pretty much has about 4 matches.
Usually do.
'Cause I
They
think it's
might
only
have.
like 2.
You used to say you got Monday or Friday. They'll announce another one maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's usually I think 4 on Saturday Night's Main Event, and it doesn't have a whole lot of like segments and too much to it. So it's only like a straight 2-hour show, just because it's on NBC. So, but that's pretty much what we have. So I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot that can happen this week, and we definitely need some questions answered. I hope we get some question answered about the Adam Pearce and Braun Breaker thing. And yeah, I mean, I hope they, do something with Jade Cargill, like, sooner rather than later. But, I mean, the creative is creative and they'll do what they're going to do. But, I hopefully that we at least get something more to hang our hat on, to like at least talk about, other than her lackluster lack of a run. Like, I want to see something develop. Maybe, maybe we get some explanation. Maybe who knows? So, but we will put a pin in this as we do. And, we'll be back next week, and it'll be the final episode of season 4, which that is an accomplishment in and of itself. And season 5 will kick off on the so season 5 kicks off with right after Royal Rumble. So, we're gonna definitely have a lot more to talk about next season, as we basically progress into 2026. And so, we will always be here to pick apart. And so this is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.